for joining us this weekend. It's time for Super Bowl Sunday. The Chiefs and 49ers taking the field in Las Vegas just ahead of a big sports week here in Indiana. Much more on that later. Meantime, for the second straight year, President Biden will not be taking part in the traditional pregame interview before the Super Bowl, as we also hear more about his interview with the special counsel in the classified documents case and the political aftermath. All of this as the campaign continues for President Biden and former President Trump, both getting on the ballot here in Indiana for the May primary, along with Nikki Haley, who just filed Thursday ahead of Friday's filing deadline. There were a lot of questions about whether her campaign would get on the ballot here. In the end, she did. This is former President Trump faces a historic Supreme Court hearing to try and stay on the ballot elsewhere, with some help from Indiana's AG. Our Hannah Adamson has more today from the State House.
Indiana's presidential primary may or may not make a difference this year. However, this week our state's primary is indeed making headlines ahead of Friday's filing deadline, with candidates making their way to the Secretary of State's office here at the State House to file signatures and get on the ballot. This week, we confirmed the Trump campaign sent a letter to election officials in Marion County questioning whether the Haley campaign was properly submitting those signatures. But now local election officials tell us she has gathered the number of verified signatures needed to qualify. As for the Trump campaign, their focus today is in Washington at the U.S. Supreme Court, centered on whether or not the former president can be removed from the ballot in Colorado, a case that could open up more challenges in other states. Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita is also in D.C., helping to make the argument to keep Trump on the ballot. We don't know exactly when the Supreme Court will make a ruling in that case. The former president has already filed to be on the ballot here in Indiana for our primary, as has President Biden. Reporting from the State House, I'm Hannah Adamson.
All right, Hannah, thanks. So just President Biden in the Democratic primary in Indiana, with Trump and Haley filing to be on the ballot in our Republican primary. Meantime, more filing deadline drama this week in the race for Congress, with Representative Victoria Spartz changing her mind on another term. She'd initially said she wouldn't run, then hinted she may change her mind, and this week she decided she would indeed run for another term. We'll talk with her next week. In a statement this week, Spartz said, "As someone who grew up under tyranny, I understand the significance of these challenging times for our republic, and if my fellow Hoosiers and God decide, I'll be honored to continue fighting for them." There are 10 other candidates in that race, including current state rep Chuck Goodrich, who said the 5th District can't afford another 2 years of Victoria Spartz's flip-flopping and putting America last, in his words. He said, "I'll always put the people of this district first and never waver on my conservative principles." We'll talk about all this with our panel coming up, and we have more reaction from other candidates in that race on our website. Meantime, in the 6th District, Friday we learned former Indy mayoral candidate Jefferson Shreve would be seeking the GOP nomination. Several others in that race for Congress to replace Greg Pence, including 2 state lawmakers. And there's another open seat in the 3rd District, with Congressman Jim Banks now running for U.S. Senate. He filed last week, and this week his primary opponent John Rust filed to join the race as well. But he'll still need a favorable ruling from the state Supreme Court to stay on the ballot. They'll hear that case this coming week on Monday. There are also 2 Democrats who filed, Valerie McRae and Mark Carmichael, who just filed on Friday. Last week I spoke with Banks one-on-one about his decision to run for Senate. What other issues are you hoping to bring to this race for Senate?
I think it's about the border. It's about protecting America. I mean, what our country has changed, I believe, for the worse, with crime and drugs and 10 million illegals coming into our country on Joe Biden's watch. We have to address that first and foremost. When we get Donald Trump back in the White House, a Republican-led Senate, and grow the Republican majority in the House, we can tackle the border issue first.
So Banks was among those who voted to impeach the Homeland Security Secretary this week, a vote that failed in the House, with a handful of Republicans joining Democrats to vote against that measure. This coming the same week, the bipartisan border deal fell apart in the Senate, with former President Trump urging Republicans not to pass it. Meantime, last weekend, Governor Holcomb was amongst a group of Republicans who traveled to the border in Texas. It was meant to be a show of solidarity with Texas Governor Greg Abbott amidst his legal battle over immigration issues. And then Friday, Governor Holcomb also deployed Indiana's National Guard to the border as well. Meantime, the race is on to replace Governor Holcomb, now in his final year in office, and now there are 6 Republicans who filed for the May primary. This week, Brad Chambers and Jamie Reitenauer both got the required signatures filed with the state. Senator Mike Braun and Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch are largely considered the frontrunners in this race, but Chambers has been spending a lot of money as well. He officially filed to enter the race Wednesday and spoke with reporters at the State House about some of his top priorities.
Make government smaller, grow the economy so that we can have economic security, address education, right? Make sure we're safe with public safety, support our police officers. Those are the themes that I'm hearing, and that's exactly what our campaign's all about.
All right, so 6 Republicans in that race for governor and now 2 Democrats, including former State Superintendent Jennifer McCormick, who used to be a Republican herself. Another candidate filed on Friday, Tammy Dixon Tatum of Anderson. I spoke with McCormick this week after she officially filed. At that point, she thought she may end up being the only Democrat in the race. Do you have a clear path to the nomination?
I do. We're going to continue to do what we're doing and win this thing in 2024. We've got a great grassroots coalition, great momentum. We'll continue to travel the state, work the phones, and do a lot of listening.
6 Republicans are now in the primary. What are your thoughts on the approach some of them have taken to this race? And what's your plan to show voters a contrasting view, particularly when many of these candidates have more financial resources, some of them raising millions of dollars already?
Yeah, I mean, I think the contrast is already clear, just from what they're focusing on. We're staying focused on everyday issues that are impacting Hoosiers, and they're focused way more on the federal issues, which I know are also important. But as the governor of Indiana, I will work with whomever gets elected at that federal level and do what's best for Hoosiers. But to have that be the focus instead of the state issues, the everyday issues, is not good for any of us. So I know there's a contrast that's already been set. We'll keep focused on our race and run the best race we can.
You come from the world of education, and so I want to ask you about the state-run website that Attorney General Todd Rokita has launched this week, asking Hoosiers for examples of what he calls indoctrination that some schools have already pushed back on, saying the information in all cases wasn't properly vetted. What are your thoughts on this controversy?
Yeah, I think all Hoosiers expect governance that is transparent and not a waste of tax dollars. And that is exactly what this is. It is a lack of transparency. It's a waste of tax dollars. It's also very GOP extremism at its finest and really divisive. And I know, having been a teacher, a principal, a local superintendent, my families and my students relied on me to use my time more wisely than to be worried about a portal that really has very little oversight into the validity of what's being posted.
All right, my interview there with Jennifer McCormick. Certainly a lot of reaction this week to the Attorney General's new portal for parents. We spoke with Rokita this week and with others who have concerns about the new website. Here's State House reporter Hannah Adamson with a closer look at those concerns.
My office is launching Eyes on Education.
Seems a little unprecedented, but that doesn't mean it's wrong.
Greenfield Central Superintendent Harold Olin says while parents should work with school administrators first to address any issues, outside eyes can help.
There needs to be somebody that can make such an appeal to. If that's through a portal, so be it.
But the Indiana State Teachers Association says the Attorney General's Eyes on Education portal is unnecessary and that the claims are not legitimate.
It is their school corporation and school administration that are responsible for firing those educators if they're not living up to the expectations that they should be.
The nonprofit Chalkbeat spoke with nearly a dozen schools on the list. They say several schools are concerned due process and privacy rights are being ignored.
There are instances of both school employees and people who have complained to the Attorney General. Their email addresses, phone numbers are posted online on this portal.
Appleton also says several schools claim the information on the portal is just plain wrong.
Some of them have said that they're inaccurate or they're no longer in use, and at least one said that the material actually came from an outside group.
The Indiana Department of Education says it had no idea the Attorney General's office would release the portal and that the department is talking with schools about this.
Okay, Hannah Adamson reporting. Hannah, thanks. Meantime, this week, more reaction to State Rep Jim Lucas showing his holstered handgun to a group of visiting students. He won't face any discipline for that incident, but this week he did tell State Affairs Indiana, quote, "If I had to do things over again, I would not have opened my coat." He said, "I still enjoyed the conversation. There were a lot of great facts that were introduced to them," referring to those students. This week, Lucas officially has opposition in this year's election in the primary and across the aisle from Trish Whitcomb, former Governor Whitcomb's daughter. I spoke with her after she officially filed for the race this week.
Our district deserves better. You know, I can do better. I've got a great background. I understand politics and I understand government. So I thought now is the time for me to run because we need better.
In that interview, Whitcomb acknowledged it won't be an easy race as Lucas won his district in 2022 with 73% of the vote, but he's faced a number of controversies since then, including his arrest for operating while impaired last year. Up next on In Focus, we'll talk with our panel about Congresswoman Victoria Spartz and her decision to try and stay in Congress after all, plus how local leaders are weighing in already with endorsements for one of her opponents. And we have some polling on the Super Bowl and a look at another big event here in Indiana next weekend. Straight ahead.